Hello and welcome to Guns and Gear. I thought I'd make a video and maybe express some of my thoughts as it relates to a defensive blade. Now, I'm not talking about a combat blade, but more of a defensive blade that you would have with you in your everyday life. Okay, something very similar to that you would have to complement a firearm that you carry concealed. All right. Now, it would appear that when you look at videos here on YouTube that most of the choices that people make for a defensive blade include some sort of folder. All right, some sort of folding knife. And I got to admit that I have thought that quite a bit myself. The very first knife that I carried for the purpose of defense was a general purpose knife that I already owned, and it's this one right here. It's made by G96, or that's the brand, G96 brand. It was an inexpensive lockback made to look very similar to maybe a Buck 110 or something of that nature. And this has a locking mechanism that actually works pretty well. Okay. Now, some of the problems with that is it doesn't have a clip on it, so you had to carry it in a pouch, and to open it you had to use the nail nick at the end here, so it wasn't one-handed. It took two hands to operate that. The next knife that I carried for the purpose of defensive use would be this knife right here, and this is Normark brand, and it's called the Big Swede. Right, and I really liked this knife because of the sweeping of the blade for slashing purposes. It also had a good strong tip, and it has a locking mechanism that is operated back here, so you push that and you can bring it down. One thing that I liked is I learned how over the years that I carried this in my pocket to operate it with one hand, and I could press the back of it, change the position, press the back of it, and close it. So this is a knife I used a lot at work, and it's a knife that I often carried in my pocket. Now, I put this little lanyard on here just recently because I took the lanyard that I had on there, which had a little bitty monkey fist on the end of it, and that's the way that I would carry this when I carried it for a defensive knife. That little monkey fist hung outside of my pocket, and it allowed me to grab a hold of the knife a lot quicker. Nowadays we have so many knives to choose from. It's just amazing. Some of the things that I like is the one-hand opening type of knife. I like a good lock, and with those two things are pretty important. Now, it really doesn't matter about the blade length to me as much, but I do like to have it to be 3.5 inches at least. A little bit longer, like this 4-inch blade on this Benchmade hardtail. This is a Harley Davidson knife, and it has the Axis lock, which is an outstanding lock. It's a good strong lock. It operates very well. It has a pocket clip, which I like to have a pocket clip. So all in all, this is a really nice knife and a consideration if you don't mind carrying a bigger knife. Now, here's another Benchmade. This is a Sabrosa, and this is a wonderful knife as well, and it has what they call a mono lock, or everybody else I think calls it a frame lock, where the lock is actually part of the frame of the scales, right? And it is an outstanding lock. It's very strong, and it's also spring assisted to help it open quicker, which you may find that to be a good quality. You may not like that quality. But at any rate, this is an outstanding knife to be considered for a defensive blade. Now, the next and the last folder that I have sitting up here is a Combat Elite. This is kind of an expensive folder, and this also has a good one-hand opening thumb stud on there. Also has the frame lock, which I prefer, right? And this one has the cool tactical black on there, and it even has a serrated, partially serrated edge. And this knife really does have a good feel in the hand. It has a pretty substantial handle on the knife. The scales are titanium. This is a really nice knife, okay? And it also has a pocket clip. So deployment of it, oh, see, look at there, is usually pretty good when I do my part. Now, for a long time, I have thought of a defensive blade being some sort of folder like that. You know, there's many different models. Spyderco makes a lot, and there's just oodles and oodles of different knives that people may think of as a defensive blade. Now, my mind has changed once or twice over the different types of knives, but to be honest with you, for the last few years I have basically employed fixed blade knives for the purpose of being a defensive blade. So let's take a look at some of them. Alright, now these represent the types of knives that I consider for defensive blades and have for quite a while. Alright, I have found that you just can't beat a fixed blade for durability. There's no lock to fail. There's no accidentally not being able to get it open when you need to get it open. All those things are negated. Now, the problem with fixed blade knives is in most cases they're not as easily to conceal. Now, the first fixed blade knife that I considered carrying for a defensive blade is this right here. It happens to be a Smith & Wesson boot knife type of knife, a dagger, and this is kind of an old knife. I would imagine early 90s is what I'm thinking. But as you can see, the tip isn't as sharp as it used to be because I busted it off training, and you can see that it's been sharpened quite a few times. This is a knife that I really have trained with quite a bit, and I like the double edge ability of the knife. I like the slender but yet strong blade composition. It's a good knife. Now, it used to have a metal clip on there, which eventually the metal began to get weak, and I was scared that the clip was actually going to break because the knife had been caught up against one thing or another and kind of pulled against that clip. And what I basically did after that is use a piece of webbing that I put through here, and it allowed me to have a few different types of modes of carry. And all in all, this is a good knife. I like the dagger types of knives, or boot knives is what they're most likely called. The next knife that I carried regularly as a defensive knife is another smaller knife. This has a 4-inch blade. It's made from N-Trek, and I don't know if that's going to show up, but it's right there. N-Trek USA. And this has a Tanto type of point, yet if you notice, it's been rounded off, and that wasn't done by me. This was actually part of the design of the knife. But it's made out of 440C. It's a kind of a sturdy built knife. It feels really good in the hands. And it comes with a Kydex sheath, and I had a fella make me up a leather sheath that allowed for me to carry it on my strong side, yet tilt the butt forward to make it a little bit easier to conceal and easier to deploy. If a knife was all I could carry and I could not carry a handgun, then this was generally the knife that I carried. Now, these three knives right here, two of these push daggers and this TDI knife from Ka-Bar, opened up a lot of doors for me as far as learning, as far as seeing potential and capability. Now, I know a lot of people have an idea of carrying a knife to help in retention of your firearm, and that's where these little jobs right here really fit the bill nicely. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you carry it on the opposite side of your gun, if somebody's trying to grab your gun and you've got your strong hand trying to help retain that firearm, deploying a little push dagger like this one, from Benchmade is absolutely an outstanding choice, because you know what? There's not a whole lot of training you need with this right here. you get a good handle on it, you pull it out of the sheath, and you basically start punching. And I guarantee you, if you start punching a fella in the face with this little short little push dagger, he is going to forget all about your handgun. Okay? He is going to forget all about your handgun and attacking you. He's going to want to stop this thing impaling into his face. So that is one of the great things about a little push dagger. And they're very small. This one has a clip, a metal clip, which seems to be pretty good quality. This is actually the second one that I have. This one didn't. The other one, a lot of the coating is off of it from practicing stabbing into cardboard and things of that nature. But at any rate, this is a absolutely awesome knife to have for firearm retention and for defense in general. Now the other model of push dagger that I have is from Cold Steel, and this is the SafeMaker 2, and maybe that will focus in. Okay, and that is the shorter of the models, the shorter of the two. The SafeMaker has a longer blade. It has that Kraton rubbery feeling grip on there, and it's a pretty comfortable little push dagger. And again, it's small. There's multiple ways that you can carry this, but it does have a pocket clip. This pocket clip, by the way, is removable, or at least mine used to be, but it began to come off of the sheath a little bit too easily, so I ended up having to use some glue and glue that thing on there so it would stay on there. But it offers a lot of capability, a lot of options for defense and for retention of firearm. Now the last one is the TDI series of knives from Ka-Bar. Outstanding knives. This is the large version of that, and I'll be honest with you, I think it might be just a little bit too big. I think the smaller version may be more optimal, because with a light t-shirt on or something of that nature, this handle does kind of become a problem. Has a very good solid clip on it, and it is overall just a great weapon. Now, there's not a single folder out there that can be deployed faster than this. Okay, that's all you had to do is this. And once again, like a push dagger, all you had to do is start punching and thrusting with the knife. Alright? So all you guys that are out there that are really, really good with your folder knives, and I know there's a bunch of folks out there, I've seen them. You can't deploy your pocket knife faster than I can deploy one of these fixed blade knives. It just can't be done. And you cannot suggest, no matter if you paid $1,000 for your folder, that it's more durable than a fixed blade of equal quality. So that's some of the reasons why I changed. And I like the idea of placing this usually in the front of my body on one side or the other, and use it for not only a defense of weapon by itself, but also to aid in firearm retention. Alright, so that's a few of my thoughts. I thought I'd share them with you guys. Everybody has their own choices to make. These are some of mine. I appreciate you watching my videos. Thank you very much. And remember to shoot straight on the range and in life. Thanks.